On 13th October 1917, one of 20th century's most amazing miracles took place in a small town in Portugal. It was a miracle like those read about in the Bible during the time of Moses. And this miracle was seen by a crowd estimated to be between 30,000 and 100,000 people, and was reported in the secular media of the time. The crowd ranged from faithful believers to socialists who were angered by the idea of there being a God. There are many accounts of what happened. This series will present a reading of the autobiography of Lucia, one of the 3 children who saw the visions of the Virgin Mary. She not only described what she saw in the apparitions, but also what happened to the children leading up to and after the miracle. The 13th of June, Feast of Saint Anthony, was always a great day of festivities in our parish. On that day, we usually let out the flocks very early in the morning, and at 9 o'clock we shut them up in their pens again and went off to the festa. My mother and my sisters, who knew how much I loved a festa, kept saying to me, "We've yet to see if you'll leave the festa just to go to the Cova de Iria and talk to that lady." On the day itself, nobody said a single word to me. Insofar as I was concerned, they acted as if they were saying, "Leave her alone, and we'll soon see what she'll do." I let out my flock at daybreak, intending to put them back in the pen at 9, go to Mass at 10, and after that go to the Cova da Iria. But the sun was no sooner up than my brother came to call me. He told me to go back home, as there were several people there wanting to speak to me. He himself stayed with the flock, and I went to see what they wanted. I found some women, and men too, who had come from such places as Minde, from around Tomar, Carrascos, Boleiros, etc. They wished to accompany me to the Cova da Iria. I told them that it was early as yet and invited them to go with me to the 8 o'clock Mass. After that, I returned home. These good people waited for me out in the yard, in the shade of our fig trees. My mother and my sisters persisted in their contemptuous attitude, and this cut me to the heart, and was indeed as hurtful to me as insults. Around 11 o'clock, I left home and called at my uncle's house, where Jacinta and Francesco were waiting for me. Then we set off for the Cova de Iria, in expectation of the longed-for moment. All those people followed us, asking 1,000 questions. On that day, I was overwhelmed with bitterness. I could see that my mother was deeply distressed, and that she wanted at all costs to compel me, as she put it, to admit that I had lied. I wanted so much to do as she wished, but the only way I could do so was to tell a lie. From the cradle, she had instilled into her children a great horror of lying, and she used to chastise severely any one of us who told an untruth. As soon as Jacinta, Francesco, and I had finished praying the rosary, with a number of other people who were present, We saw once more the flash reflecting the light which was approaching, which we called lightning. The next moment, Our Lady was there on the Hallmark, exactly the same as in May. "What do you want of me?" I asked. "I wish you to come here on the 13th of next month, to pray the rosary every day, and to learn to read. Later, I will tell you what I want." I asked for the cure of a sick person. If he is converted, he will be cured during the year. "I would like to ask you to take us to heaven." "Yes, I will take Jacinta and Francesco soon, but you are to stay here some time longer. Jesus wishes to make use of you, to make me known and loved. He wants to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart." "Am I to stay here alone?" I asked sadly. "No, my daughter. Are you suffering a great deal? Don't lose heart. I will never forsake you. My Immaculate Heart will be your refuge and the way that will lead you to God." As Our Lady spoke these last words, she opened her hands, and for the second time, she communicated to us the rays of that same immense light. We saw ourselves in this light, as it were, immersed in God. Jacinta and Francesco seemed to be in that part of the light which rose towards heaven, and I in that which poured out on the earth. In front of the palm of Our Lady's right hand was a heart, encircled by thorns which pierced it. We understood that this was the Immaculate Heart of Mary, outraged by the sins of humanity and seeking reparation.